In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to self-host a Dragonwilds server using a VPS as your public IP with Tailscale, Docker, and Traefik for reverse proxying. I'll walk you through the key steps so you can follow along and copy everything. But before we begin, make sure you have a virtual private server with Linux installed. And I recommend Ubuntu, and the VPS providers I recommend are AWS, Linode, DigitalOcean, or Oracle Cloud. But for this tutorial, I'll be using AWS as my virtual private server. And if you do use AWS, you'll need to create an EC2 instance with Linux installed. Again, I recommend Ubuntu. When creating your VPS, make sure you get a public IP address that's IPv4. Do not get an IPv6. The game servers only really see the IPv4 address. So there's that too. And then when you also make the server, you're going to want to port forward your two ports. So in this tutorial, I'll be using 45,000, but you can use any port you want. The game port is 7777, but usually you can use any port above a certain number. You can ask ChatGPT what port to use. It can give you a random port to use. About 45,000 is what one I'm going to use. And to connect to you, initially to connect to your VPS instance, you're going to want to have this command. So you'll have to go to the admin side of your VPS, and you'll get a key. You'll want to download that key. You want it to download as a .pem file. If you can't get it as a .pem, then use a program like PuttyGen, and transform it or convert it into a .pem file. Or if your thing does take a .ppk, you can do that too. But you're going to do ssh-i, your key, Ubuntu, and then your VPS public IP, and you click enter, and you connect to it. This is mine right now, and when you're first there, you're not going to be in anything. You're just going to be in the home directory. We're going to want to install Tailscale. Now, once we get your Tailscale up and connected, you're going to want to change this to your Tailscale IP for your computer, like the computer you're using. So right now I'm SSHing into it with this IP. I have to have this exact IP in order to connect to it. But you're going to want to, so this would be your home address IP, your home network IP, public IP. But later on, you can get that from whatsmyip.com or .net, I forget what it's called, or .org. And you just copy and paste it in there so that you can only SSH in it from your home IP, but you should later change it to your Tailscale IP addresses. So let's get Tailscale installed so you can change that to a Tailscale address. So first you want to do is get Tailscale account. You can get one, it's free to get started. Click it and you'll get to the admin panel. And I'll slow down here because I went too fast last time. So at the admin panel, you want to click machines at the top left, and then near the top right, you want to click add device, and you want to click Linux server. And you scroll down until you see in the generate install script, the blue button. Click that, generate the install script, and it should look something like this. Should look something like that, and your auth key will be there. Once you click that, you want to now advertise this Tailscale as an exit node. You go Tailscale up, accept routes, advertise exit node. Don't forget to run it as sudo, as it says. Sudo is needed. And then it'll run as an exit node. Now we'll pause here for you to go now change your from your public IP to your computer's Tailscale IP. So you're gonna want to go back to the website Tailscale if you're on Windows, but if you're on Linux, you can just install it with sudo app install Tailscale, I think. But Windows, go here. You're gonna want to install it. So download for Windows. Click that. Install Tailscale, and then you want to connect to your same account that you have your VPS on, and connect to it. And you're gonna want to grab on the Machines tab. You want to grab this machine's IP and throw it in there. So my machine's IP is 176.251.11. I put /32, so it only takes that IP and not like an array of IPs. So that it can only be, and then you want to SSH back out of this. So you're going to want to exit out by typing exit. I'm not doing that, so you need to stay in it. And then you're going to SSH back into it with that command from earlier. But make sure you have your Tailscale connected on your computer. You're going to, but instead of your public VPS network, you're going to use your VPS Tailscale IP here instead. And then that way you're only SSHing over Tailscale. It'd be more secure, and you don't have it on that public IP, because your public IP can change if your ISP provider does that to you. So once we got that installed, we're going to install Docker on the machine on your VPS. So curl docker this command, get Docker, and we're going to get Docker here, and we're going to then system control enable Docker and system control start Docker. I already done that, and once you do that, you should be able to type docker -- version, and you get Docker version 29, whatever newest version is. And now you're going to want to install Docker Compose. So you do this to install Docker Compose. It will get everything for you. Let's wait for it to load. Take a sip of coffee. There we go. And then we type Docker Compose version, and we'll see we're on the newest version, 5.1.1. And now we're ready to go over to our home server. But first we have to grab our IP. You can either grab it from your admin panel on Tailscale, or you can just type in Tailscale IP-4, and you'll get your Tailscale IP. So we'll copy that, save it for later. And now we're going to go to our home server that we are going to be running on. So first and foremost, we're going to set up the .m file. So you're going to want to make a folder first for all your server stuff. So I called mine recording, but I made a you're going to want to make a .env, and then you're going to want to edit it. So use Nano, use Vim, whatever editor you like. And you're going to want to put ts auth key, and then you want to get an auth key from your admin panel on Tailscale. So go back to Tailscale, go to settings, personal settings, there should be keys, and you want to click generate an auth key. Once you click that, it will pop up with what you want to call it and how long you have till it expires. generate it once and then paste it in here. You may have to generate it again later if your expiry runs out. That's only if you stop the container, but hopefully you never have to stop your Docker container for Tailscale. So once we have that up and running, or once you have that going, we're going to do Docker Compose. So let's touch Docker compose.yaml, which we already have, so we're not going to do. And you want to paste this from the description. We'll have the service, Tailscale, and Dragonwilds. Now this Dragonwilds image that I'm using requires 1000 permission. So we're going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it server because the volume here calls it server, but if you want to call it something else you can. You just have to change this to whatever. But I'm going to do server. So we're going to make a directory called server. Oh, and also make sure you are running Linux on your server. I don't know if you can do this on Windows or not with this image. But make sure you're just running Linux. I recommend Ubuntu again. So then we want to sudo shown 1000 the server directory. And if you have your security up, you should have a password typing your password. Once it's in, you're good. And then you're going to want to change this port here. We're using 45,000 for this tutorial, but you can use whatever you want. Again, ask ChatGPT to ask for a random port if you want to be more secure. But 45,000 is what I'm using. And then you're going to want to change the exit node. So that IP that we grabbed earlier from the VPS, we're going to want to copy that. And then we're going to want to put it in here where it says 100.x.x.x and replace it. And then you want to save this file. And the next thing you want to do is docker compose up-g to run the stack. While that's running, get a sip of coffee. Alright, so after it's up and running, we're going to want to grab the IP. So you can grab the IP from the Tailscale admin panel, but I'm just going to do it this way. Tailscale IP-4, same as the VPS, but it's going to be different. So we're going to grab this IP now. Now if you're, grab this IP now. And go back to, we're going back to our VPS. And in our VPS, we're going to want to make a directory. I recommend it, but you don't have to. For Traefik, but I already have a Traefik directory for this, so that's what we're doing. And we're going to want to nano docker compose, and you're going to want to paste this into it. After you do that, you're going to want to nano Traefik.yaml, and then this will also be in the description, but whatever port you're using, I'm using 45,000, but you're going to want to change, every time it says 45,000, you want to change it to the port you're using. And now where it says .x.x.x, we grab IRP from our home server that we got earlier, and we're going to want to paste it into here. And we want to save. And then we close it, and then we launch Docker Compose, and it started. So we're all good there. Now we have to go back to our home server, and we have to stop Docker stop Dragonwilds. That's what we call the container, at least, Dragonwilds. We want to stop this one. Now this specific Docker image auto updates on restart, which is very useful. You can use another Docker image, but I recommend using this one. Totally up to you. So you're going to want to stop the Dragonwilds server. It'll take a second there. you'll see that your server folder is now populated with a bunch of junk, and you want to click on RS Dragonwilds, saved, config, Linux server, dedicated server.im, and then you're going to want to fill this out. So let's put a world password, testing 1 2 3 4 5, admin password, I'll do the same thing. Server name, we'll do dash server dash 11120, and default world name, I'll call it world dash 11102. And this you don't need to fill in, it's auto generated as it says. Save that. I'll show you where you can get your own ID real quick in game. So you over here into the game, you go to settings, and you go down here to the bottom left. You should see my player ID right there. You want to click on the little copy button that's right beside it. Then go back to your dedicated server.in and paste it in. Excuse me. And paste it in and save it and close it, and then back to the command line. Docker, we typed docker start Dragonwilds, and now it's starting, and now we can type the logs for Dragonwilds. And you can see it can check, this thing will check for updates. It'll make a local build copy and a remote build copy and see which one's the newest. And after looking at the logs for a while, we'll see success. It started. And I'll also show you the build ID right here, 189251. That's the current game version. That's at the top left of your game. That I will show at the top left here, 189251. And then you're going to want to search for the world, your world name, 11102, I think that's what we called it. Yep, server, and we called it testing 1 2 3 4 5, and you'll see that it will work. And we want to click enter world. Give it a second because I'm running on a machine that doesn't really support this server. You'll see we have it up and running. We didn't have to expose any ports on our local network, and everything's running through Tailscale. If you do use a different reverse proxy, you'll see some latency issues where your player won't be able to run like I am running. Traefik handles the UDP connection really nicely, that I find. But if you find it doesn't, then try other reverse proxies. That's it for that, and don't forget that you also have to port forward on your VPS to the port you'll be using, like 45,000, and don't forget to change your how you connect to your VPS through the you want to connect to it through the Tailscale network. That will be it. That's it. You now have a fully self-hosted Dragonwild server that's secure and private. Thanks for watching.